What is up, Squared Nation? Welcome back to the Four Corners, the official podcast of No Counters, No Combos. We didn't do an upload last week for a couple of reasons. It was Super Bowl Sunday, so I'm not un-American in the sense where I was gonna make I was gonna make Matt record a podcast during Super Bowl, but unfortunately, we did have a loss in the family, so that's why there wasn't a lot of content uploaded this week. It just didn't feel right uploading content, while my wife was grieving. So I just kind of laid low a little bit, but everybody's in higher spirits. Everything's pretty good now. So we're going to get right back into it. Matt, let's start off with you, man. What's going on?
We had locals the week before last, so before Super Bowl Sunday. Um, I played starter Vegeta. I figured out the last little change. I was really looking to tweak just matchup specific stuff and really just the tech cards. So I did a little bit of tweaking with that. I'll touch on that a little bit later. But um, other than that, I've been keeping up with testing. I'm starting to really grind that Sin matchup. So I'm really working on a side for that. 3 Golemite siding all three in is huge, especially with a DPVMS.
Hmm.
So dropping that on the board on one, and then following it up with a Golemite every time they drop the Sin.
Yeah,
If they're going to spawn that one drop, they're going to pay for it.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
you're
like
ramping up now for what's the event you're ramping up for?
Con Louisville.
Louisville. Are you going to be going to the one in Jersey too?
Want to, but I'm gonna have to see how that Q3 bonus looks.
Yeah, so they PPG just announced that they're gonna do part of their TCG con. They're doing two more events. I forget where the other one
Denver.
is. Is it Denver?
Yeah, it was Denver and two weird, like Denver out of nowhere. I haven't seen them do an event down there, but that's sweet for the West Coast.
Yeah. I mean, which is what we were talking about just a few weeks ago. How it's
Yep.
these events from PPGs seem very like localized to their own little bubble. But so Denver, and we're getting a Jersey event in Edison, which is really good. I remember Edison always having regionals for Yu-Gi-Oh. So I'm glad to see that they're kind of using that space. And obviously, Jersey is close to PA, New York, Connecticut, so you'll probably see a good amount of people pull up for those events. And the fact that we're having an event in New Jersey, it kind of tells me a little bit that things are kind of getting, I don't want to say things are ever going to get back to normal in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic, because I don't think life as we know as normal, I probably don't see that ever happening. Like, you'll probably still see people walking around with masks. You'll probably still see, those areas that have masks optional. That's probably the new norm that we're going into. But I think it's nice to see like the leniency, like some restrictions are kind of being lifted a little bit so we can get back some normalcy, because up until now we haven't really had any New Jersey events, and then hopefully other states will follow suit. Your thoughts on TCG Con expanding to West Coast and Northeast Coast?
Think it's phenomenal. I'm hoping I see the Louisville roster. I keep an eye on it every weekend to see if anyone signed up. I'm sure hype will start. I mean, it's not even March yet, so with the event being in the start of April, I'm sure they'll start to hype it up, and we'll see a lot of Midwest to Southern players signing up for that. Just people that want to travel for their invite. I know a lot of people want to get that invite to the PPG, the PPT event at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Because the prize, I mean, it's all cash prizing, which is sweet,
yeah,
but I know those events are usually pretty crowded, so I'm excited. I got a couple of guys from my locals rolling up, but I think it's awesome that they're expanding. I think Denver more so. I had a feeling they were going to do a Northeast event. If anything, they normally do those PPG regionals that they send out kits to stores.
yeah, yeah,
But I think it's awesome that they're doing like a localized actual event. Because I think TCG Con is great because it's going to get a lot of eyes on the game. But I also think that like, when it comes down to it, these events are great for beginners because people that play other TCGs are going to go and they're like, "Oh wait, this is a Dragon Ball game," and they're going to be able to pick up. Like I'm sure there'll be plenty of booths, and PPG is going to have starter decks and singles available, and if you want to grab a deck right before the event, grab one and then participate. And like that's a great way to grow the game, I think.
yeah. I mean, listen, paper card games, like in-person events always help, push you know increased activity, whether it's vendors or whether it's community or whether it's just hanging out with the boys or whatnot. That type of interaction always helps push a game forward. Um, so I'm glad that they're doing more events in New Jersey, or they're starting to do this event with this event. I hope though the one thing that I hope that we get out of this is I'm excited that PPG is hosting an event up, in our area. That's great. But there used to be a TO, it was called Top Cut, that used to operate like in this area, like Northeast, like tri-state area. I hope if PPG, if the New Jersey TCG Con event has a good turnout, I hope that kind of like ruffles the feathers a little bit of Top Cut, and maybe they'll get back into it, because I don't think having too many TOs is a bad thing, because they all have different areas that they're going to thrive in. So I think if we can start getting more TOs involved and stuff like that, I mean, we're never going to get ARG. That's just never going to happen. So the smaller ones like Top Cut, that it would be nice for them to come back. They can have their little bubble in like the tri-state area. That would be totally fine as long as they're consistent with it. So I'm wishful thinking, fingers crossed, but I do hope that seeing that turnout, if it's good, hope we'll like kind of get the wheels spinning a little bit. I saw the announcement for the event and immediately I was super excited, because obviously Jersey is, my former hometown. So I was excited for that. But then I realized that that event is the weekend of my wife's due date for our child. So, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be kind of
Well,
busy. So I'm
yeah, a little bit.
probably, unless something happens, even if like I just can't see myself getting away, getting away and not being responsible for my family. But even if my child was to be born a little earlier, it just doesn't fit. The timing doesn't fit. So, you know, foreshadowing, whoever's going to plan on going this event, you guys dodged a huge bullet, because I won't be there.
Oh yeah,
So,
huge bullet.
so have fun. Definitely try to make it out. Try to support the area or whatnot. I know a lot of people are excited for it. So, hopefully the turnout is good. So let's talk about locals. So you kind of
Oh
mentioned a
yeah.
little bit about it earlier in the video, your journey to perfecting your strats. So just walk me through it a little bit.
Yeah, so locals was bigger, and it's getting bigger slowly and steadily. Like we're growing in player base, and I've been bringing Starter Vegeta with a certain number of tech cards that I've slowly started to lock in. First one was Crown at a two of. I think in any red deck that's huge. It comes into play in a ton of different ways against decks that have one drop counterplays and decks that thrive off of one and two drop counterplays. Yellow, for example, having Steadfast, that affects Din, that affects Trunks, that affects Zamasu, that affects Icarus. All these yellow decks, and then decks like SS4 that are rogue but rely on cheap counterplays that are cheapened by their archetype.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you see someone with energy open, especially in blue, you can play that crown, and you either have to respond to it, and if they God Seal it, you're just going to play it again, and you just got two cards out of their hand. That's huge. Um, so that was really, really big with crown. The second one was saying Kaba,
Oh yeah.
guaranteeing myself down to 4 life on turn two is really, really good because it activates all of my super combos, and it puts me 1 life away from activating Imposing Presence for free. Um,
Okay.
red, being able to play all of my defense for free is ridiculous because I can tap out every single turn, and I'm always safe because I'm always going to have a testing, always going to have an imposing, or I'm always going to have a wolf fang. I'm always going to have a Yamcha. And that was the other thing that I bumped up was I was only running 2 Yamchas because I was worried that they wouldn't be as useful later on in games. But if you look at the format right now, almost everything is played by a skill.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Whether it's
getting there for sure.
Evolve, whether it's an activate main, whether it's whatever it might be, something is cheapened by a skill.
Yeah.
So Yamcha is huge right now. So he's a body. I mean, it's an aggro deck, and if you're gonna counterplay something on my turn, I'm gonna play another body, and now I just effectively hurt your board, and I put another swing on mine,
Yeah.
which is really big.
For
And
sure.
then the last tech card I was running was SSB Vegeta Spirit Mentor,
That's the
which is,
TP, right?
yeah, it's the 3 drop promo that is -30 ignoring barrier. It
Oof.
plays the Kaba Unison, but I don't because the Unison's not very good. Sorry to anyone that thinks so, but your opinion is probably wrong. Um,
I mean, I think
but
that
I
Unison's
really
good, but
liked.
okay.
I really thought that the -30 ignoring barrier would be more useful. But shout out to Tristan. I know at first it was mostly a joke, but when am I ever going to play that card? And I thought about the times that I've actually paid 3 energy for that card in an aggro deck. One time against Sin, and it didn't work.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, what can I use to benefit a red aggro strategy when I'm trying to swing with more cards than effects on cards? So this isn't like a double strike deck. This is death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
I thought Freeze's Death Ball um, is an extremely valuable card. In theory, it is a +25
Yeah,
because
because
you're
you're
swinging at
negating them
lead
10 and you're gaining 15.
and you're getting
Yeah,
15.
yeah.
So that +25 overall interaction is
Yeah,
insanely
for 1
valuable.
energy too. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and you can kill a 25k with Wolfang. So they Wolfang and then they swing in with like a Return of the Dragon Fist happened earlier today, and I'm holding that one of Frieza's Death Ball, and they comboed their whole hand. Okay, pay 1. That was an effective lineage. So I just completely revamped the one of tech card completely revamped. So one card difference, but it's huge. It's making
Yeah.
a major difference.
I mean, that's what testing is for, right? Like, I know, I know you use untap a lot, and sometimes untap's kind of crap because you come up against a lot of random people, but untap is really good if you're playing against your buddies, and you know who you're playing against. So like if they're playing, something sweaty that's going to help you test, like that's always really good. It's a very good resource. I still prefer
Yeah,
webcam because I like, physical cards and stuff like that. And I think that the um the accessibility that we've gotten with webcam games like these past couple years is huge for the game because it's always going to have like a life like for some reason if tomorrow every single card shop decided to close down for whatever reason, you could still play on Untap and you could still play webcam games. So
yeah,
obviously I know everybody's preferred method of play is in person, but sometimes you just gotta roll with what you got, and that's where we're
yeah,
at right now, so that's good. um
definitely.
so my only question for you, right? You're going through all this testing and all, but the new set's gonna come out before the
Yeah.
event. So it's gonna be legal. You still feel confident that Vegeta is gonna be able to hold his own?
So this is where I lie with the new set because I look at it color by color, right? So we have 2 red archetypes. We have Gray Priest, which is due to garbage and will be played in an event, and we have Red UI. Red UI is going to be, in my opinion, the best deck in the format. How do you beat it? You have to kill it before turn 4, or you have to be able to deal with the A drop and the secret rare. So you don't go to 1 life is number 1 ever against that deck because the second turn 4 hits, you are going to die.
Yeah.
They can grab that secret rare from their drop with no effort
Yeah.
for no cost.
Yeah, yeah.
So don't go to 1 life. And then number 2 is you have to kill them before 4 and make sure that you're not taking too much damage too quickly. Because if they do get to that 8 drop, the Goku, they're going to swing a bunch and they're going to do a lot. So you have to be relevant enough to say, okay, I'm holding this defense. I'm holding this card like testing at 3 life or at 4 life even. Or I'm holding this imposing into a testing or a Wolf Fang or that freezes Death Ball. Like you have to be really prepared for those types of cards.
Right.
And you have to be aware that your board is going to constantly get disrupted.
Got it.
So you want to either hit Bond as fast as possible or within 1 turn. So that's really a trick with UI. Yellow, both decks are very good, but both decks are very reliant on setup. Trunks takes a lot less to set up, and I think Trunks is slightly better. But what I'm seeing a lot of is reliance on the Vegeta, which means Yamcha. You play the Yamcha,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you
of course.
use the crap out of it
Sure.
because when he swings with the Vegeta, I'm gonna Wolf Fang or I'm gonna imposing, and I'm gonna kill it. Super super big there. Zamasu is really just bringing them to too low of a life count as to where they can't establish.
Mhm.
Because at its base, it really wants to be a blue yellow deck. If you play it yellow good stuff, you can. But yellow good stuff just got a lot worse.
Mhm.
with a 1-of power of a Super
Yeah,
Saiyan,
I agree.
and
Yeah.
Turles is relevant with Yamcha. A lot of these yellow matchups are won and lost with the Piccolo Junior Unison and Yamcha. So that's really really helpful. Um, Blue is garbage next set. It's just going to be Soul Striker again,
Yeah,
which is
pretty
just
much.
player crowns.
Yeah.
And pray to God that they don't establish. Black is going to be Trunks and Gogeta Zeno.
Mhm.
It's a matter of timing your free defense
Mhm.
in a way that you can actually deal with cards like thwarting. SS4 thwarting is a really really tough card to deal with because it has all that nice protection, and you can Yamcha and then imposing, and if they swing all the way through, the card's going to die by the end of the turn.
Yeah, but they won't do that.
It's 15, 10 is 25, 5, 5.
Yeah.
So the card's dead. But if not, it's a little tricky. Um, Gogeta Zeno is a deck that is going to continue to be good until they do something to. Bandai doesn't know how to balance black or yellow, as evidenced.
Okay.
Black is either going to be too much free play or not enough free play,
Okay.
and yellow is either too much draw or not enough draw.
Okay.
Look at Icarus. Look at Trunks. Look at Zamasu. Now they've started to fill the decks with archetypes to where you have a limited space for these really really good cards,
Right.
but they're gonna have to find that balance point soon. Black is a struggle for sure. You have to get your value set up before they can. And then green doesn't exist.
Green doesn't exist. Well,
Green isn't a real color in this game anymore. I
yeah,
feel so bad for
I
green
don't know.
players.
I don't know what's going on with green. I
Like the
just
red
don't
and it's
know.
child.
I feel like the green like I feel like we're getting some good green cards, but like the hit's pretty good, I think.
Oh yeah,
But they just haven't I think they're afraid to make green really good, like because of cards like Ribrianne
yeah,
and full potential, dormant potential and charismatic, and green still has the best early unison in the game probably with Demigra. Like Demigra is still really good, but nobody plays green, so you don't really run into it too much. And then for some reason, like if your opponent's able to deal with Demigra, then you just follow it up with that Dark Broly unison, and he's also really good too. So like I feel like green has good cards. They just haven't found like King Cold is probably the best green deck in the game right now, but it's so archetype like specific that you're not running like a lot of just good green stuff. I don't think that we have a good enough generic green leader in the game right now that doesn't rely on a specific, archetype or gimmick. So I think if they do that, um, we'll be in a in a better place. But I think that in the next set, not Realm of the Gods, but in the following set after that, seeing that we're getting that Cell Expert deck,
yeah.
I think that green will probably get a boost there. So we'll just have to all my green players out there, we'll just have to hold out a little bit longer, to see if we get some nifty tools. I went to locals yesterday, or if people watching or listening, this would be Saturday night. We went to locals. It wasn't a big turnout. We had about 8 players, but the games were quality games. I ended up going with SS4 Xeno Goku, because I really like that leader, and I think Black is in a pretty good spot right now. And it was just pretty much like like just good stuff. Like you play your time agents, you play your thwartings, nothing too crazy. You play your demigras. I definitely see like where I could make adjustments to make it a little bit better. Um, but I really do like that leader. I like that on the Awakened side, he's a permanent double strike. I think that's really huge. I mean, yes, you could see it coming, but you have to deal with it somehow. So if you don't have a negate, you're gonna have to deal with it. And he melts unisons on his own, so that's really good too. I like the passive advantage that he gets. Putting up to 4 cards back from the warp into the drop to draw a card. I think that's really good too. And it just plays, it plays so well with the thwartings because you can go ahead and thwarting, put 2 guys in the drop, and then activate your skill, put 4 more in the drop to have 6, make an
Real
overwhelm
sick.
play, and then or you could go ahead and play SS4 thwarting if you want to go that route. So I think it has like a lot of good versatility, and we are getting some good black cards in the next set. So I think right now he's a little bit under the radar because there's a lot of trunks with the Crimson Warrior trunks black deck coming out. But next set, if you have a lot of black staples, if you have a lot of good black stuff, definitely keep your eyes out for SS4 Xeno Goku. I think he's going to be a really good leader to kind of go ahead and commit to. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, finals were me and Zevi. Zevi ended up going undefeated with Soul Striker, and you basically mentioned it. Next set Soul Striker is basically all blue. Soul Striker is really good, man. Like it's just so good. Like the blue yellow variant that Zevi was playing, it's got the new Kabas in it. It's got the new Keflas in it. Like it's just really good. Like you draw a lot of cards, but you're so efficient with your energy, and that Boo Unison is strong, and the Kefla is really strong, and you got to be careful with the Kaba because if you overextend, you're just gonna get bottom decked. There's just a lot of nifty tools for Soul Striker, and I know a lot of people wanted it hit on the ban list. I was one of those people, but now I see why it wasn't because if you hit Soul Striker, yeah, blue is just kind of dead. Like there's not like this new Goku that's coming out is okay. It's like watered down Soul Striker, and then you could make the argument for SS4 Vegeta, but SS4 Vegeta wants to play mono blue. Like you don't want to play blue yellow with him because you're gonna get screwed, off his ability. So I think Soul Striker is just gonna stick around until they make the next good blue generic leader, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the wildest thing about that archetype next set is it gives us the best generic blue card we've seen in like 3 sets. That 6-drop Goku that you play for
Oh
3,
yeah, that guy's
he's
snapped. He's
absurd. That
gross.
card's Deadly Defender on roids.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane value. I mean, like, and there are a lot of decks that just can't deal with that, and then they just swing with it, and then Soul Striker wins. And I think Soul Striker and Sin right now are probably the checks to the format. Like,
Sure.
you got to learn how to deal with both of those, and if you
Yes.
don't, sorry,
Yeah.
good
Yeah, I
luck.
agree.
Two
Like
drop.
you can plan for the meta. You can plan for the meta all you want. If you can't handle Soul Striker or Sin next set, just don't even bother. Like it's
Nope.
not so much I don't mean handle by like win against it like, you know, convincingly. You just have to know what to do. Cause like if you because you look at Soul Striker, right? And you're like, okay, he does what he does. He can't awaken until he gets a unison out. So the normal strategy is to try to rush him and try to aggro him out really quickly. They're gonna take all that damage. Like just okay, cool. You're just giving me
They're gonna awaken
cards.
at 4.
Yeah, you're just giving me cards. I'll awaken at 4. It's no big deal. And then I'll just control you. I'll just do what I gotta do with beans and this and that, and then just good blue stuff. And they still have the best counterplay in the game in God Sealing. Um, they're not playing any unisons that are less than 3, so they're probably playing that new angel unit, the Supreme Angel guy next set.
Um,
They're
some
probably playing
decks are,
him.
I think, the best one's still Baby and Gogeta.
Yeah, I could see Baby being really good. Gogeta's really good. I really like Gogeta a lot because it basically says you take no damage if X. So I like that too. And then the Boo Unison is just so good. So they're always gonna have their God ceilings turned on late, and you're not gonna really be able to stop that because if you fight their Unison and try to get them to less than 2 markers, they already are winning because you're gonna put so much pressure on their unison that they're not gonna worry about anything with their leader, and they're just gonna arrival stuff. So I get why Soul Striker wasn't hit. I mean, at the same time too, like it's another reboot leader. If it would have gotten hit, this would have been like the third reboot leader that got hit.
Over
So
3.
yeah, so Bandai is just like, listen, no matter what, we cannot ban this guy. So it's gonna be interesting. I it's very difficult because in a perfect world, you want every color to be good, right? Like you want every color to be good because green is somebody's favorite color. Green early on, green was my favorite color. When I first started playing the game, I loved green. I thought green was really good. It had a lot of removal. I had a lot of hand destruction, and early on, like sets 1 through 4, that was like really strong. But it was like very slow to the races, and then like obviously Bandai's favorite color is yellow and then blue. So from there, you just kind of go down the pecking order. Like red was bad for a very long time until we got like Bulma and like all these other red cards like Yamchas and stuff like that. And black, black just recently, believe it or not, started getting its
Those
own
were
color identity with Vegex. So in a perfect world, you want every color to be good, but it's probably just hard to do that. Um, every set, like, yeah, you would want it to be a meta with five really like five tier one decks, and each of those five being different colors. But it's probably just really hard to do that.
yeah, and I think like the thing that they're gonna have to start doing, and they won't because it's kind of an impossible suggestion to meet, is they need to find some sort of balance between archetype and good stuff in a set. Um, for example, yellow in Saiyan Showdown. Um, people, Turles is not a bad deck by any means, and neither is the Flip Gohan. But the stars of yellow in that set were steadfast and all too easy,
Oh, 100%.
and it wasn't even close. Those cards are both ridiculous.
Hmm.
And then you look at, you look at the archetypes, and are they played? Barely. And
Yeah.
it stinks
Yep.
because they're meant to be in those
Yep.
decks. They're built for those. They're built to support those archetypes,
Yep.
and they do really, really well. But I can also just stick Turles in any yellow deck and just pay 2 energy, and now I have a body on the board. And like
Yep.
that's easy. And they need to find a balance of either power when it comes to those support cards that are for the archetype and to the archetype plus cards, or they're gonna have to start supporting every color every couple of sets
Right.
because I feel so bad for green
Yeah.
players, man.
No,
Like
you're right.
it's
You're
like
right.
it's like, and I watch like people who have like a set one Broly list and or set one Broly, and it hasn't changed in like 3 sets. I mean, I mean, you're changing like your side deck for the format, but like those decks haven't gotten new cards. Like they might throw the hit in, they might throw like the Goku in because those cards are decent, they're good. But this different, and that set doesn't even come out till March.
Yeah.
These green players haven't had any changes to their decks. Like I've sat with Clashco in the closet for like 4 or 5 sets, and I haven't touched it.
Yeah.
Like it's a bummer, but I think hopefully they'll see that Beerus and Champa had a lot of potential, and that they could spin that stuff into okay, maybe we can support green.
Yeah. I think Bandai's just scared of having just green like dominate. Because I mean, if you look at Cell Surge, like Cell Surge got banned, right? And most of Cell Surge's power cards were, I believe, green. Like
The
not
whole
not
deck
not
was
just
like barely
recently.
any
I mean,
yellow.
like not just recently. Like when Kamehameha Origins was still legal, like those cards were super powerful. And like when Gotenks was running around all over the place, looping dormants
Uh,
and like Ribrians and Kamehameha Origins, like those cards were really, really strong. And then like um you make your opponent discard a card, and then you boom, Power of Legends comes in for free, 15k crit spot removal for free, and you can do it again. So they had their green had its like brief moment, but then it just like like it just died, like it just they killed it, and
and
I didn't think hitting Roshi was like that big of a deal, but I guess it really was because right after that hit, green just died.
so it was like leading up. I because I remember I was like dormant should not exist. Like it's ridiculous. And then we got to a point where okay, you learn how to play around dormant.
Yeah.
And it's like that took me a long time because I'm an aggro player, and that card gives me the shivers. Um, like taking time to learn how to play around dormant was really important because then once I did, I was like, okay, this card doesn't mean anything. The real problem was Roshi, and then we got to a point where green fell off a lot.
Mm,
Like green totally fell off. Like I think like 2 sets before that ban list,
yeah.
and then they hit Roshi, and we were like, guys, it's too late. The color's gone.
Yeah.
Like, and like Gotenks is a great point. That like that deck will be around because it draws a lot of cards,
Hmm.
and it can do the thing where I'm gonna play 4 dormants in a row, and then I'm gonna sell Zeno on turn 5.
Yeah.
But that deck's certainly viable. But the problem is green is carried right now. I don't know if we said this, saw it in a video the other day. Green is carried by Charismatic Villain right now. Like
Oh yeah,
carried,
100%.
like
Charismatic
if
Villain is so good. It's
ridiculously good
so
card, and
good.
it's that's the card that's keeping green alive
Well, I
because
would say Charismatic Villain with Zamasu, Deity's Wrath.
yeah, I agree. That
Because
combo's
Deity's
great.
Wrath is disgusting.
Oh my
That
god, I'm
card
so
is
glad that card got
yeah,
reprinted.
and yeah, it just got reprinted Mythic Booster for cents. So like it's accessible
And
now to anybody.
oh yeah,
But yeah, 100%. I mean, if Trunks Godzillion Technique is number one, Charismatic is easily number two, because
mhm,
it's a counterplay that gets around Deflect, which is nice.
huge.
Because the destruction's on the auto. Um, so that's huge. I mean, that's just huge in my opinion. But we're just gonna have to
Absolutely.
wait and see. I mean, I see things like, okay, you could make the argument that yellow and red in set 10. So in Rise of the Unison Warrior, yellow so yellow had Vegeta Prideful Transformation and red has Yamcha, the Yamcha counterplay, right? And compared to the other two, those are probably the two weakest ones. Um,
Right.
Fast forward to today, nobody plays Prideful Transformation because everybody plays Steadfast Assistance. And Yamcha is being played more now, but they went ahead and also made, and everybody says this card is bad, but the card itself is not bad. It's just the fact that you have to have a
It's a
unison with three
requirement.
markers. Yeah, the requirement sucks, but the card itself is really good. The Videl counterplay is actually really good too. So they kind of like tried to make things a little better, but they only succeeded with one color, with yellow. But by now going and hitting Power of Super Saiyan, you kind of watered that down a little bit, which is what we all wanted. So it's just gonna be interesting to see, how like the black Kamehameha yellow extra card fits into the
I
meta and how it starts to like re-energize yellow again.
Listen, it's not free, but that card is some
Oh yeah.
fierce.
Yeah.
That card is crazy good, and I mean all of them are. I haven't really read the red one yet. I probably should because the art on that SPR, if that card works, I'm gonna get a couple copies because it's
Yeah.
just so cool. But I mean, like the blue one is great. Having removal, like being able to spin a card and then still get the 10K is super super good, and you draw a card. The yellow one, I mean, the black Kamehameha is so 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 valuable. Um, Especially in yellow. Yes, it's not free. It's not Power over Super Saiyan, but you could still wait until you have your Power over Super Saiyan in hand, and you're gonna draw it. You're playing yellow.
Yeah.
Your Power over Super Saiyan, pay one, Black Kamehameha, and that was a huge value turn.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%.
just for that, and then you look at what are the other colors? The green one's basically just a watered down EDK. And then the black one I think is okay. I haven't really read it. It's like it's middle of the road, but I think we're getting to the spot where they're doing a really really great job releasing tech cards
Hmm.
for colors, and then totally going all into one color and going, okay, here's all the support.
Yeah. So I think it's funny because the way I look at it, like the last couple of sets, right? Like the way I look at it, like certain colors are snapped in half, right? Like yellow is snapped in half. Um, blue is like pretty blue yellow is like pretty good. But I feel like I'll look at like their design of a set, and it's like, okay, they just made this really powerful yellow stuff, or they made this really powerful red stuff. But it looks like it's funny because like it looks like the only balanced color in the game is black. Like, I feel like Bandai does such a good job of balancing black, but they can't get it right for the other four colors. It drives me crazy. Like, how can you get it right for one color, but you can't get it right for all the other colors? Like, I was having a discussion um with Hudson, or it wasn't me a one-on-one discussion. We're just having an overall discussion because he was playing the Supreme Kai of Time, deck or whatever, right? And that's a perfect example of overly balanced black cards or an overly balanced black strategy in the game. Because yeah, you can get wormhole, but you have to overwhelm first in order to trigger it, and like the
You need
sequencing
to
is like
hit the
really
board.
like it's really important. So that's a very well balanced strategy. It's black. And now everyone's talking about um the new Trunks deck, right? Obviously Gogeta Xeno is probably the best black deck moving into set. Is it 16? Set
Yeah,
16?
16.
So Gogeta Xeno is like the best black deck moving into set 16, and Trunks is like a more fair, more balanced version of Gogeta Xeno. So like they're still balancing black. Obviously, they don't want black to get out of control because of what happened with Vegex, but do the same thing with all the other colors, and then you won't really have a problem.
Yeah, and I think the issue that black presents is you look at cards like Thwarting SS3, and that's the most. And I mean this in the best way. This is coming from a Gogeta Xeno player. This is the most obnoxious turn one play in the world.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'm gonna pay an energy, draw a card. I'm gonna play a cantrip that says 25k double strike, and I'm gonna remove a body. Are you gonna deal with it with one energy?
Hell
No, cool.
no.
I'm gonna swing with it.
Yeah, thank God he has the unique tag too, man. Oof.
Oh, and like they're gonna end up doing something. I think Trunks is their way of saying, okay, guys, last set with Gogeta Xeno, because they really tried to be light on this last ban list. If you notice, like they hit the tech unison in Black Smoke, and they hit the Trunks that was like an extra card in hand, and then the they hit Fu, and like they hit this light stuff with good, and they hit True Fighting Spirit, and they make it unique.
Yeah,
Um, it's them saying, okay, guys, Koji is still pretty good, okay, and now we're gonna get to a point where it's gonna be the probably the best black deck in the format by far,
yeah,
and it's gonna outclass Trunks, and they're
yeah.
gonna go, okay, guys, come on, play
So
Trunks,
so like set
and
16 or
they're gonna bang
whatever.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 17 ban list, they're gonna hit Koji.
But
I think
that's the problem though. Bandai is always like a step behind. Like you said it with Roshi earlier. The ban list that we got with the Mecha Frieza, where they got rid of U9 Assemble, and then they were like, "Oh, sorry, we messed up. We
sorry
actually
guys.
meant Frieza." Like they're always behind. And um I saw somebody post oh god, it's escaping me right now, but I was scrolling through Facebook today, it's a segue into our next topic of conversation. But I was scrolling through Facebook today, and I read somebody's post saying that our community is so like the opposite of toxic that like it's content creators, we don't criticize Bandai enough, and we don't really peel back and look and focus on the negative stuff. Like we're so positive in this community, which is great. I'm not saying that we need to be more negative. Um, because there's a difference between being negative and being critical. Like I think that's what this guy was getting towards, and I think he kind of didn't word it properly. There's a lot of positivity in the community, but you could still be very overly critical and be positive at the same time. Because
Oh,
constructive criticism is a thing. And listen, I love this game and I love Banda, and I think that they've done a really good job so far. But I'll be the first one to tell you when they make a mistake. I have no problem saying, "Hey, listen, they didn't get it right this time," or they made a decision that doesn't really help in the long run, like they did with the U9 ban, and we talked about it till we were blue in the face. The real problem with that format was Mecha Frieza, and not Universe 9 Assemble. So Bandai, if you're watching, I love you, but when there's a problem with the format or when there's a problem with the game, get rid of the problem. Don't say we're going to beat around the bush and like reduce these little things around here and hopefully it will indirectly affect it. No, we're all degenerates. We're going to figure out a way to break things. That is our job. And I say that all the time. Our job as players is to find the most broken combinations, the most powerful setups, the most powerful cards, and like expose it. And then Bandai's job is to say, okay, well, we need to correct this. So that's that's my 2 cents when it comes to that.
yeah, I think that there's a reason people make the Band Aid joke all the time.
Oh yeah.
Um, it started with U3 and Vegex. I think
Mm,
for me, like it's been going on longer than that, but I think for me, it started there. When they were like, "Okay, we're gonna hit U3," and that was great. U3 was busted and it should never have existed. But and then you look at, okay, then they hit something else for Vegex, and then they hit something else, and then they hit something else, and then black was completely decimated, and Vegex was still topping.
Because
And
the
now they've hit
problem,
Vegex again. Vegex is still good.
yeah,
People will tell you Vegex is still an extremely relevant black leader.
sure,
It's phenomenal, but they went to the point where they balanced it enough. The problem right now comes down to they need to look at the cards that see the most play, and then look at the play lines that those cards are making. So, and I'm not saying that every card that sees play needs to be banned. I'm saying, like, look at a card like Senzu Bean. Does it need to be banned? No. But is it played in every single deck that runs the color blue? Yes. Why?
right,
Okay, so it gives you a defensive strategy, it gives you offensive strategy, and it lets you be flexible. Is that blue's color identity? Yes. Okay, let's look at SS3 thwarting. Is that played in almost every black deck? Yeah.
yeah, the spice,
Why? Why do they? Right, the spice. Why do they play it? Okay, it's a 1 energy removal, and in the deck it's meant to be played in, it draws a card. Okay, is that too much advantage? Well, okay, but if it's 6 for more than 1 turn, yes, that's a lot of advantage. Is that card easy to deal with? No, it's a 25k.
I think the problem with thwarting, I think I think Bandai tried to address it by also making thwarting an overwhelm card, and they were
Yeah,
probably like, okay, you not drawing that extra card, not like if you're not playing Gogeta Xeno, you're not going to draw that card when you Union Fusion. So I feel like they made it an overwhelm so that you could play it in other decks, but they
they didn't
probably
realize.
figured that, oh, you not drawing that card is enough of a penalty not to play it in Gogeta Xeno. It's one card. And Dragon Ball, like if this was Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Digimon, like games that don't draw cards, like you're drawing like 2, 3, 4 cards every turn in Dragon Ball. So me
Or
not
yeah,
drawing
one
one card for a 25k double strike beater that's gonna warp
dude, I
stuff,
go
yeah, I
-3 for
will
that card.
gladly pay one
I'd
for
fuse
that.
from hand. I'd
It's
fuse from
disgusting.
hand.
It's disgusting.
Like, and dude, in Gogeta Xeno, I've fused from hand before, and I've still ended up with a 14 card hand. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous. And
it's
look, I'm not saying the card needs to be banned. Even give players a chance to set up. Someone had said this to me. I think it might have been Graham. I'm not sure. But you know, lock it to 2 energy and forward, just like Marvelous Might. Marvelous Might needs your opponent to have 2 energy. Why does the worst card have the worst restriction?
yeah. I mean, I would
Like,
I would even be okay with it getting the 3 energy treatment because he's a finisher, right? So like
that's the thing.
he finishes
He's
games.
a
Like
finisher.
he's a closer. If he didn't have double strike, then I would say okay, whatever. But he's got double strike and he warps a card out of your hand or on your field or whatever it
Yeah.
is. So he's got removal, he's got double strike. He can swing lethal on his own. So yeah, I mean if it didn't have double strike, I'd be okay with him costing 1. But he's got double strike. Make it turn 3 because it takes some setup. The game's a little slower right now. You know, you need to leave
Right.
energy open for your defensive plays. Not everything is free. So if your turn 1 is charge pass or charge tap 1 and play a cantrip, you're gonna get blown out by Gogeta Xeno on turn 2? Yeah,
Your
you are.
cantrip 25k double
Yeah,
striker that's removing your
you're gonna
cantrip.
get blown out. It's just how it works. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Speaking of Facebook, I'm not gonna mention any names. I'll put the post up here, and I'll redact the important information so you guys can see it. But this was from a few days ago. Somebody posted this in Facebook. Facebook is a public forum. If you have an issue with me posting your comments on my video or on this podcast, don't use Facebook. Um, so basically, this person will not use names. He says that I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna try to say it in correct English. I'm going to say what nobody wants to. As it currently stands, Yu-Gi-Oh's online client is killing us. Konami basically got my dog to download the game. Bandai, do something. You guys are losing the war when you can just win it all in one battle. I know of all the license bullcrap. That's a cool excuse, but how about you still try? Um,
That
so that's like, what is it? Copy pasta? Is that what is that what people say?
oh, God,
So
it
here's the
deserves to
thing,
be.
right? So here's the thing. before I get into this beautifully written comment that's grammatically correct, this guy who answered to this guy clearly knows what it's talking about. But before we get into his comment, what I will say is we need to pump the brakes a little bit. Like, just Aaron Rodgers, just pull an air, just relax, RELAX, relax.
I don't think I would have been able to do
Dragon
that.
Ball is fine. It's in a good state right now. Yes, it seems stagnant because there's been product delays. Sure. It seems boring because the entire next set was revealed a month before the set released. Sure. But that's not really in Bandai's control. The products get delayed because of shipping issues, not so much because of development. Okay. Um, with that being said, this response to this comment, again, we're not going to use any names. Um, it's the truth. The influencers of this community barely give Bandai any bad feedback about anything. Bandai doesn't care about this game in the least. Why would they? They have Digimon. A lot of the most prominent figures of this game don't care about this game or its progression as far as growing. They just care about profits from winning. With all that being said, it baffled me how the whole community wasn't in an uproar when Bandai announced an official online client for Digimon before DBS. They just made excuses, license this and that. Okay, you just accept that. It's ridiculous. Another reason of many, this game is just continuing to decline and will be dead within the next 5 years.
Right? Two rebuttals for that ridiculous statement.
Go ahead.
During the Mecha Frieza format, when that ban list announced, every single content creator, every single one, made a video, if not 2 to 3 videos, talking about A, how trash that ban list was, B, how to fix it, and C, none of them were overly negative. I like I love this community. I do. But sometimes these people say things and I just don't know where the information comes from. I think like sometimes people live in like these made up worlds.
Sure.
But regardless of that, with the online client, people are like, "Oh yeah, no, that's a good excuse." Yes, it's a good excuse.
Yeah, licensing is
Licensing's a
licensing.
nightmare.
The legality
Like
behind
you act,
licensing is a nightmare.
y'all acting like these companies just want to spend billions of dollars for the support of a card game that has been stagnant the last month. Like if they see sales go crazy, y'all want an online client, buy the crap out of online or about a product. You guys want them like make the game overly profitable to the point where they don't have a choice and they're like, okay, yeah, we can make money off of this. But right now, no. And Digimon is probably way easier to license, but y'all saying that the licensing is not an issue
Yeah.
is an issue.
Well,
Sorry.
well, here's the thing, because people, and when I say people, I don't mean these two people. I mean people in general. Okay, they make these comments about licensing and yada yada yada, and everybody feels like they know enough about something to say it, right? But it really is, in fact, a licensing nightmare. When you look at Konami, or when you look at, you know what? Forget Konami. We're looking at Bandai, right? Excuse me. The reason Bandai supports Digimon more than Dragon Ball is because Bandai has 100% creative control and legal control of that intellectual property. They've never they've they created it. They made Digimon. Like that's like Warner Brothers and DC Comics. They own the rights to all of those characters, right? It's not like Marvel. Marvel's a shit show. But DC and Bandai, they own the rights to that intellectual property. Bandai does not own the rights to all of Dragon Ball. They have agreements, they have contracts and relationships with Toei and Shueisha and all these bigger companies that are really more responsible for the distribution of Dragon Ball. I mean, it's not like Bandai can just be like, "Yeah, we're going to do this." Because you know what? As big a company as Bandai is, Toei and Shueisha are probably bigger than them. So they could just be like, here's this lawsuit. Here you go. Figure it out and then come call us. Like, it's not that simple. When you get the legalities involved, when you get all of the restrictions involved, when you get, when you're talking about intellectual properties and you're getting stuff like that, it's not an excuse. It really is not an excuse. Like, if people understood more about it, then they would probably make less of these comments. But look at Konami. Konami 100% owns Yu-Gi-Oh as an intellectual property. Yu-Gi-Oh's been around for as a card game for about 20 years, and they just now made an online client. 20 years later.
Real dedicated online client.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
old school and stuff like that, but
yeah, yeah, like a real online platform, like and Bandai, quote unquote, supporting Digimon more than it supports Dragon Ball. I think it's just an unfair statement. It seems like it, yeah, but you have to understand that Bandai built that game from the ground up. People forget that Chrono Clash system, it was experimented first with Naruto. Like, that
and
was
it failed.
and there's a Godzilla expansion for that game too. So that whole gauge of like time and like that time is their currency in that Digimon game, that was worked on and developed with two other guinea pig IPs that they have. So they were like, listen, let's try it again with Digimon. People were clamoring for a Digimon card game. There was a lot of hype around it. It was a 20th anniversary. You had these movies come out. Everything is planned. Nothing just comes out of the ground. The Dragon Ball Super card game was developed to coincide with the release of the anime Dragon Ball Super. It wasn't just made up out of the ground. Bandai just didn't wake up one day and say, "Hey, you know what? Let's make another card game." They've done card games in the past. They've had successful ones. They've had failures. So they kind of know what they're getting in bed with. So we just need to relax, pump the brakes, and let's not make assumptions on subjects that we don't know. I'm not claiming to be a licensing expert. I'm not claiming to be a guru in regards to, Bandai's financial decisions, but I guarantee you, maybe there's not a lot of people that are even in this community that are experts in licensing agreements.
Yeah,
So
and
let's let them handle it. I have a feeling 2022, we just got started. It's only February. I think it's going to be a big year for Dragon Ball. Which, you know, we saw with the Battle Hour stuff, you know?
good stuff. That intro video was pretty hype, not gonna lie. Watched it like 3 times. Just that like mini fight with Vegeta and Goku. Pretty dope.
Yeah, and I think I really just we got to just, a little bit. Just, take a chill pill. Take a chill pill, people. Um Real quick before we get into our last topic, um, I forgot the question of the day. So the question of the day is for custom leaders. There's a couple people in the community that make custom leaders. Shout out to David, my buddy. Um, he makes phenomenal stuff, right? Like, chef's kiss. My question of the day is, and you guys can leave your answers in the comments below. Do you guys prefer the kind of leaders that David makes, or do you prefer like the metal like lasered leaders? I can understand like the durability aspect of it. So I just want to know, I'm just curious like what everybody thinks about the difference between, you know, Davidson TCG and like TCG metals. Uh no, like I don't want to like start a riot or anything like that. I'm just curious to see what makes somebody's preference from cardboard to metal. Just out of curiosity. So let me know in the comments below what your guys' opinion is. I know you have some metal ones, right?
I have one of each. So I have a couple of Davids. I was one of I got like a little OG stamp. I was one of the first to order his Broly Surge Brutality. He's an old leader. This is back when like Liqueur like DB5. But I also have my Phil Swift leader is from TCG Metals.
Right.
And they're both super nice guys, and they both make phenomenal products. And it really does depend on what you want. Like for me, I don't. I more prefer like to look at like the art aspect of it, and I think um they've both been improving on such a radical slope. Like I remember when they were both just using like Doken art, and that was it.
Hmm.
And it was like then it started to be like a little bit of legend, and like David's last render, that King Cold
Yeah,
was a free
that King
like
Cold is nice.
dude, and it looked easy.
Yeah, that King
And
Cold.
like I hope that the community continues to support creators like that, and like shout out to Sean Briggs does custom deck boxes. He lasers over Dex protection boxes with a 3D printer, and it is so cool. He did a Gojo slash Iroh one to match my sleeves that I got from John Alonzo. Um, so cool. And he's done more and more. Like he did an auction, and it got binned for a pink Goku Black and Zamasu
Nice.
deck box in the auction center.
Yeah,
It got binned in like minutes.
yeah. I mean, I for one, as a content creator, obviously it always starts off as a hobby, but I really do appreciate the guys who really like, or the people, I shouldn't say just the guys, the people that really take it to that next step and really create, a hustle out of it. Like I respect that, like you're passionate about something, and you know what, you should seek some type of monetary value from it. Like if you're good at something, never do it for free, a wise man once said. Um, so shout out to all the the customs. I mean, obviously we have your playmat, you Trifinity with John Alonzo, Davidson TCG making the leaders, TCG metals. There's just so many out there. Dixon Dice, they make custom dice and stuff. There's just so many creators out there. You know, that's what makes the community special. It's not just the card game. It's the ability to say, "This is what I want," and there's somebody out there that can go make it for you. So, shine some light on the custom creators in the community. Last thing we're gonna talk about, Battle Hour, Dragon Ball Super Card Game Ultimate Squad. Is that the set's name? Ultimate Squad? It's got to be
It's the
set
first, it's the first set name that I'm genuinely laughing at. I just
Ultimate
like I know that
Squad.
it's meant to be. I know that it's meant every time. I know that it's meant to be like this like serious ultimate squad,
Ultimate
but I
Squad.
just can't help but
In a world where Goku and Piccolo are on a team together. So let's talk about it, right? So they showed like this little 30-second like thing, and that was their big reveal. Like there was literally like they showed this video, they're like, okay, we'll see you in March. Like that's it. Like they showed a little
right.
video of the new Red God Goku Super Saiyan God Goku leader, the new one that we're getting. And they showed like a blank like card like hovering over the top of it, and then just like like it was like laid on top, and then was like to be continued. It was just like next time on Dragon Ball Z. Like it was like one of those things. So
The
everybody's
whole big
speculating
reveal we
what it
waited
could
the whole
be.
night for.
Huh?
The whole night we waited for that reveal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the whole I don't even know like by the way, tangent. Who won? Brian Samuels or Andrew Duval?
I didn't. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't watch.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like nobody watched that. You're talking about a national champion, our just recent world champion. Nobody watched that. We
It's like
waited for
I
this
love it.
reveal, and we got nothing.
I love the whole idea behind Battle Hour, and like I love that they've included the card game, but I don't think that they're. I don't think any company is super in touch with their communities, but it kind of shows how out of touch they are. We had one game between Duvall and Brian Samuel. There was like zero hype.
Yeah,
It was like the last one. There was a whole tournament. It was super
yeah, I
cool.
remember that one.
It was super hype. But it was one game.
Dude, I didn't even find out about the game until like a day before Battle Hour.
What? No hype.
I was like, what? Listen, Bandai. Side note, if you're watching this, bro, I don't do advertising for a living. I do sales for a living. But hit your boy up. Like, make a flyer, stick it on a billboard somewhere. Like, put it on a milk carton, like do something, you know? Put a Dragon Ball Super card game sticker on a bag of Doritos. Do something.
Hell yeah.
Like just do something. Make a Goku God cereal. Make a cereal, a Dragon Ball cereal with blue and red marshmallows in it. Do something,
Hold on.
you know? So the speculation for this new mechanic that we're getting, I think Tristan said in our chat, shout out to Tristan, it's called reinforcement or something like that. So
Yeah.
to me, it literally just looks like you're
Awakening 2.0.
to
Is
me,
gonna be
it just looks like you're getting a second leader, like, or you're getting an extension of your leader. Like in Magic, they call it partner commanders. Like if you play commander format in Magic, they call it partner commanders. You have two, like essentially two leaders. I don't think it's gonna be that crazy where we're gonna get two actual leaders, but I think there's gonna be a new mechanic that helps, like make like obviously unisons are an extension to your leader, but they're just planeswalkers. Another Magic term. Um, I think this new mechanic, Ultimate Squad, or whatever the hell is going to be called, reinforcement, is literally just going to be like an like not awakening. Like I'm sure your leader will still be able to awaken, but you'll just get like another little like card to help you with the leader.
I mean,
And
future proofing. Side note: they've been mentioning leader cards on card decks
right,
for
right,
years.
they have. They've been saying that for a long time. And we always thought it was just like a
In
grammar thing. But yeah, you know what? It's an interesting gimmick because to me, at least it's not an in-deck mechanic that you now have to revolve around. You know, you'll
fully
probably have the option of not using it if you don't want to. But for weaker leaders, like the whole reboot thing didn't work because Bandai just doesn't know how to reboot leaders without breaking them. Um,
well, Raditz.
yeah. Well, Raditz is actually
But green isn't a real color, so like
yeah,
that's moot.
Green doesn't count. So I think to avoid the whole reboot fiasco, they're just gonna give us this like power up for our leaders, and maybe it will make older leaders now. I don't want to. I dare I say playable, but you know, like it maybe you know it might and it may be one of those things where it's tied to like you mentioned, like an era, like a trait.
Love that.
Like, oh, if your leader is from Battle of the Gods saga, you can reinforce him with another Battle of the Gods leader. Boom. And now you have two leaders.
It's yeah. What I'm assuming, my assumption is that you once per game can reactivate an awaken skill. So my thought is like, for example, it's like the deck I'm playing, Starter Vegeta. Once per game, whether it be if you draw this card or if you're at a certain whatever a requirement is met, two or less life, and it's past 5 energy, you can reawaken, you can untap two again. That'd be crazy valuable. Being able to untap two at any point past a certain amount, yeah, that's super sweet. So I think it'll be something like that. I could be completely wrong. I usually am on this stuff. I'm terrible at predicting this kind of stuff. But hey, I mean, I call thwarting, so that's cool.
Yeah, so for me, like I said, the one thing I really like about it is it seems to be a mechanic that's outside of the deck, which is great because God forbid, like they make this new mechanic where you have to jam like 10 cards into your deck just to make it work. That could really be an issue with space. So I like the fact that they're trying an out of deck mechanic. Um, if I were a betting man, um, basically what I would do is so awakening's never going to go away, or wishing, whatever you want. Flipping to your backside's never going to go away. Um, and that's always been like a power up. Like awakening, I directly relate to like transforming in Dragon Ball, like going from Super Saiyan 1 to Super Saiyan 2.
That's what it feels like, which is so cool.
Right, exactly. So that's fair. But characters have multiple transformations. So for example, um that new Super Saiyan God Goku that we're getting. He's red on the unawakened side, and when he awakens, he's Super Saiyan blue. What if your reinforcement now takes you from Super Saiyan Blue to Ultra Instinct? Or like Super
That
Saiyan Blue to Super Saiyan Blue with Kaioken times 20 or whatever. Just like a little
I think
more oomph
yeah,
to it, you
like a
know?
secondary transformation. I
A
think that'd be pretty
secondary
cool.
transformation, right? That's what I
Yeah,
think.
I think like a secondary awaken. My guess is what it'll be is it'll be something that sits next to your leaders from the other side, so like out of play. But it's something that takes up probably a deck slot. I mean, it's a probably a one of, but say you have to include it in your deck, right? So it's a part of your 60 cards or 50 to 60 cards. It sits to the left of your leader, and it says when you know say it's face down. When this happens, flip this card over. It flips over, an effect happens once per game. I think that's a cool way to do it. It's a last ditch effort kind of transformation type thing. I think that'd be a cool thing to do.
Yeah, so I really don't I like your idea. The only thing I don't like about your idea is I really don't think it's going to be included in the main deck. I really
You know,
don't think it's going to be like
deck
another
space.
ultimate card. I don't think that's going to happen. I really
I think
do
it stays
think.
outside the deck permanently. Like I don't think you have to draw it. I think it'll permanently sit outside. I think it'll take up a slot.
Oh, you're saying, oh, like a slot in your 50, but it starts outside the
Yes,
game.
but it
Um,
starts outside the game.
I mean,
Like a field, like a
like the field's card. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
okay. I mean, I guess, but since we can build up to 60 cards in the deck right now, I don't even think that's a major,
Right. It
like a
wouldn't be a
whoa.
major impetus.
Right.
Like it wouldn't be an issue. Like I think it helps. Like okay, yeah, you can include this card, but like
Okay, I mean, yeah, I could see that. I could also see something where, um, so for me, like Dragon Ball, there are 7 Dragon Balls, right?
okay,
So for me, like when this game was first made, the fact that there's 7 Dragon Balls, but you start with 8 life, that always kind of bothered me. So what if the new reinforcement card like starts outside the game, but you have to put it in your life pile, face up, so you know where it's at. Um, and in order for you to activate it, you have to take it out of your life when you're
and it
already
triggers
awakened
immediately.
to then play it on
Each
top of your
trigger.
leader. So like you
Okay.
start the game with your 8 life, but now you have this guy in there. Boom. So you I
So you
guess
draw 7 life.
yeah, so you would go 7 life with this new card, this reinforcement card. And
Okay.
then whenever you have to be awakened though in order to activate it. So if you get killed, you get killed. You suck. But if you're awakened already and it's sitting in your life and you rip it, like you take that's the damage that you take, you can then activate reinforcement and go right on top of the guy. And that's what gives you the skill. So, you know, and like there's only a few decks that awaken with 8 life. So it's not like, you know? Yeah, like Vegito would be stupid with this card because he's gonna awaken at 8 life and then have a power boost. So maybe not everybody gets one. But I think decks that awaken at like, 4 or less, like the traditional way of awakening, I don't see there being a problem with that. Because you're gonna have to get to 4. Now, decks that have alternative awakening conditions, maybe not, because you can like for example, like Whis. Like imagine if Whis got a reinforcement with Beerus. Okay, well, Whis awakens at he can awaken turn 2 and go down to 6 life, and now you have a freaking Beerus there with you. That's probably gonna just blow stuff up with Hakai all the time. That would be kind of nuts. So I think
Yeah.
if you don't have an alternative awakening condition and you just awaken when your life is at 4 or less, I think that's a way of making it so that leaders that are already strong enough and can handle themselves on their own don't need the boost, but older leaders or leaders that awaken at 4 or less get a little bit of a boost now. I think that
Yeah.
would be a
I mean,
nice balancing in. And then the last thing that I would do, like if I was Bandai, if I was a multi-billion-dollar company, right? I would make this card a transparent card. Hear me out. I would
oh, I
make
think
it
I
a
know where you're going.
transparent art card. that when you put it over the leader that it goes over, it has like with the card underneath it, it has a specific design.
That's
So by itself, it
cool.
looks like dog shit, right? By itself, it just looks like a bunch of lines. But when you put it with the leader, and a lot of us have our leaders in like mini snaps or like sleeves. So when you put your guy in there in the sleeve, you slide it in there, it looks like something totally different, like a
Oh,
holographic or like some type of stamp or whatever. Bandai, I come cheap. I will do this for you for cheap. Just call me up or send me an email. No counters, nocounters.nocombos@gmail.com. We can talk. I'll put the Google Translate and do English to Japanese, and we'll have a conversation. This could work. And this is one of those things where yeah, it is super gimmicky, but there could be enough hype around it and there could be enough appreciation around it to invigorate some more like, oh
yeah.
dude, are you gonna do the reinforcement? And your leader's gonna look badass? Like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm gonna do that. Are you kidding me? Of course I would
I
do
think
that.
I think like a thematic idea like that would be really really cool. Um, I have a feeling like I remember the big hype unison that I was like whoa Bardock with Goku, like that's cool. And then we had like Vegex, who?
Yeah.
So like I think that's a cool idea. I think 17 is going to be a major support set is my prediction because we're gonna get this new this new you know this new thing. We're gonna get archetypes with it that want you to do it. But I think it's also going to be a really really big support set. Meaning like okay, this deck from set 13. What was set 13? Oh, maybe Vegeta got
Supreme
nerfed. All right,
Rivalry, I think was 13.
all right. Let's say take Mechikabura,
Okay, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a deck that's relevant but not top tier. It's a solid road deck. Um, Now we get to set 17 and you're like, okay, well, what if we gave Megikabura this reinforcement? Okay, so here's a reinforcement card of Megikabura, and now it's more than playable. Now it's okay, now it gets this card that, you just did your triple attack. What if you reinforced now? What
Mm,
else can it do? So I
mm,
think that's like maybe it just restands the leader for a fourth swing.
mm. I
Would it
mean,
be overly busted?
each reinforcement can have a different like
Can be
effect.
a different thing for
Yeah.
each leader.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have to figure out a way to not make them too generic because if they're too generic, then the one will just be played like Piccolo Junior Unison. Sorry, it's the best red unison.
So the other thing,
So
the other thing I could see, like what you just mentioned was really interesting, like like a sidekick card, kind of.
yeah,
And it would be really interesting because I was actually having this discussion with Graham, and I won't keep you too much longer, but I just want to get this point across. I was having a discussion with Graham on Saturday at Locals, and I was talking to him about the Cell Expert deck and that set coming out, and how we don't have a Cell Saga Teen Gohan leader in the game right now because we had the reboot, but he got banned. We have a couple Bojack leaders, but we don't have Cell Saga Teen Gohan, and arguably that's one of the most iconic moments of the
oh yeah, it's
entire
my
anime.
favorite by far.
So, A, Bandai needs to go ahead and take the opportunity since there's a Cell Expert deck coming out in that set. They need to make a Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan leader. And what if Teen Gohan's reinforcement was his father's
Stop,
shadow behind him with the
stop.
coming? Come on, dude! It's
Ah,
perfect! It's
oh,
perfect! Bandai, just call me
and
up, dude.
I mean, you have the archetype that would get me to play green. I
That's what
mean,
I'm
I almost
saying.
did it. I almost played Reboot Gohan. But think this is the exact situation we had last time with set 9. We had to sell expert deck that was garbage, but was it wasn't an expert deck? Was like a beginner's expert deck?
It
God,
was
that
something
card was
like that.
bad.
It had Gohan
It
cards in
was
it though.
so awful.
It was a
Well, it had the
successor.
Gohan.
It was a
It
successor
had
deck.
the stuff. It was the archetype that was meant to go in Reboot Gohan,
Yeah,
but they made Reboot Gohan the most broken leader they've ever printed.
this is true.
Um,
This is true.
God, that leader was busted. But no, I think that's a great idea, and I think like it brings to light. Okay, so what other archetypes can they do that can use this reinforcement? Like think of times throughout the anime that someone came and reinforced. Maybe another Bulma leader, and Vegeta, that's my Bulma. Like that's my Bulma
That would
reinforcement.
be pretty sick. That would be
we
pretty
have
sick.
a mini interaction that's sort of like that. But what if we had a reinforcement? What if
Broly,
we had
Broly and Paragus,
yup,
Trunks and Future Gohan,
yup,
Vegeta and literally anybody, because because they do my boy dirty. He can never just get
you know,
W's on his own.
Universe
Um,
7 and Monaka.
yeah, I mean, you could do Vegeta and Kaba would be great, even though they kind of already
Yeah.
did
Oh
that.
my
Vegeta
god.
and Kaba would be great.
You can do this
Um,
many times you want. I'll eat it up every time.
Goten and Trunks? Are you kidding?
Oh, with a
There's there's
Gotenks
so
reinforcement.
there are so many iconic like tag teams in the game in Dragon Ball history, right? Like you could do like even from Dragon Ball, you can do Goku and Krillin.
Hmm.
You could do Tien and Chaozu. Like
Yup.
you could do Yamcha and Puar, even though
Yamcha
Puar is
Puar.
like a nobody. You could just do Puar. You can do Oolong and the turtle. I forget the turtle's name.
Oh. Oh my god. I
But
don't
you could do
remember.
Oolong and the turtle. You could
Yup.
do Kami and Mr. Popo. Can we get a Mr. Popo
Dude,
leader?
the
You know,
last
like
time we got that combo was with World Martial Arts
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
with
there's so
the
many
two
like
free
there's
cards.
so many like duos. You know, obviously Android 17 and 18. You know, you could do stuff like that. You could get Fat Boo and Fat Boo and Bobbity. You could
Yup.
get like you could just get stuff. You know, I mean, there's there's nothing holding them back from doing it. I think Bandai has played it safe this entire time. They took risks early on, like when they were adding keywords
Wow.
every set, but they haven't done that they haven't done anything drastic.
When's the last time we got a new keyword? Is that 9 maybe? Invoker?
Probably.
I mean, Unison's not really a keyword.
Yeah, a successor and
Yeah.
invoker are the two newest keywords, I think.
Oh my god. Yeah,
And that
no, we
was
need new keyword.
I wasn't even playing the
And then
game when
people
those
started
came out.
complaining. That's right. People were like, "We're getting too many keywords
Yeah,
too quickly," and then they stopped
they
completely.
literally
They were like, "Okay,
stopped.
no
They
more,
literally
no more."
stopped. So
We
I
could
mean,
like a new keyword would be sweet.
look, like I think if you ask anybody, set 10, Rise of the Unison Warrior is very polarizing. It's a 50-50 set. There are people that love it. There are people that probably hated it at the time. But the one argument that you can make about Unison Warrior is that it changed the game. Like it was a big
100%.
change when they introduced Unisons. But they've been on the same formula for 7 sets now,
More,
almost a year,
more than that.
2 years. So I
Yeah.
think
Oh my god.
Bandai, if they're gonna do, it's 2022, man. We're going into year 5 of this game. Like we're going into year 5 of this game. If you're gonna do something big, do it now. Do it now. Shut everybody up. Do one of those directs and be like, hey, look at this cool shit that we're doing. Like, do it now. Like, take risks. You gotta risk it to get the biscuit. Like, that's what you gotta do. I digress. I digress. But we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. My man, closing thoughts.
Um, looking forward to playing with the Frieza's Death Ball in person. I got the collector's edition, so gonna be a pretty one of. But I am really looking forward to really testing myself against Sin consistently is going to be the next big test. But I'm really looking forward to this next set. I think it's going to be really meta defining, um, just like how set 10 was. Where we had all these great archetypes that really made an impact. What were you thinking? And ending thoughts.
So for me, I mean, I I'm a little bit I don't think revitalized is the right word, but I'm in it. Like I'm like ready to go. Like I'm like I got the itch.
Refocus.
Like I want to play Dragon Ball. Like I didn't play 2 weeks ago. I just played this weekend, and I was like, yes, like I'm in this. Like I'm ready to go. I'm not gonna be playing this weekend because it's my birthday weekend, so I gotta, I'm gonna be doing stuff with family. Um, and then the weekend after that, so this upcoming weekend, the 26th of February, I won't be playing. And then the weekend after that is pre-release. So like we're in it. Like
Yeah,
we're
there you
rolling.
go.
Like we're rolling. Like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be sweaty. I'm gonna be super sweaty next set. I'm ready to be sweaty. I'm gonna make a t-shirt ready to be sweaty. and then the
And no
logo on the
counters, no
button.
combos, go right on the belly
Yeah,
button.
right on the belly button. Yep. I'm ready to go, man. Like, I've been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh on the Master Duel stuff, and I'm just like, Dragon Ball is just a superior game, and I'm just ready to go. So like, if anybody's out there sitting on the fence, now is the time, bro. Now is the time to jump in.
Just do
The
it.
game is affordable again. Like the most expensive staple probably right now,
Steadfast,
yeah,
probably.
Steadfast and All Too Easy, because the reprints for Unison Warrior and Vermilion Bloodline, they killed that market. They killed it. God Sealing SPRs are like $12.
Charismatic's the only one that's expensive right now.
Yeah. So like right now is the time. And spoiler alert, when you get the second printings of Unison Warrior and Vermilion Bloodline, the differentiator, like the little tag, it's so minuscule.
It doesn't even
It
matter.
doesn't even matter.
We're like, oh, I don't want an Ari on my cards.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
doesn't even matter. Like
smaller
go
font
out,
than
get your
Skittle.
stuff, like get your cards, what you need moving into the next set. Peep yellow, yellow's gonna be really strong. Peep red, red's gonna be really strong. Don't sleep on black. Green's terrible.
Yeah, don't play
And
green.
blue, if you're playing Soul Striker, you'll be all right. So you guys have like 2.5, 3 weeks to get your stuff. For those of you who are going to pre-release, I'll give you my pro tip. If you're gonna buy sealed product and you're trying to save money, you're trying to be as budget as you can. Sealed product is always a gamble if you're a budget, because a lot of the singles drop significantly.
Night.
But if you're like me and you like cracking packs, don't buy more than 2 boxes.
I limit it to
I guarantee you, whatever if you're trying to build one deck, if you're trying to build more than one deck, this doesn't apply to you. But if you're trying to build one deck out of the next set, I guarantee you will get 70 to 80% of that deck built with 2 boxes,
one.
and
It's gonna
whatever
trade
stuff
for
you don't need, you trade for the rest. That's the smartest way to do it. Everybody's going to have their cards, everybody's going to have their staples. Obviously, if you're a rarity whore like most of us are and you want everything foil, that might take a little bit of time to do. But Dragon Ball is a game where rarities do not matter. Like, they do not matter. So,
Well, they do make your deck better, but
well, that's a discussion for a different day. But with that being said, we're going to get out of here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and please hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything No Counters, No Combos. We really do appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.